you ever noticed how many unnecessary chemicals are in your cleaning products? When I started looking into what I was actually using around my home, I realized that my laundry detergent was one of the worst offenders. So many popular brands are packed with harsh chemicals that can irritate your skin, mess up your hormones, and cause allergic reactions. But I don't want all of that, so I switched to EarthBreeze. Their detergent sheets are free from harsh chemicals like optical brighteners, dyes, parabens, phosphates, and preservatives. Plus, they don't come in those heavy plastic jugs. It's no mess and no mystery ingredients. Just a lightweight, pre-measured sheet that dissolves in the wash and gets the job done. And yes, your clothes still come out clean, fresh, and soft. So if you're looking for a powerful clean without harsh chemicals, try EarthBreeze. It's easy to switch, and if you're not completely satisfied, they have an amazing money-back guarantee. Right now, you can try EarthBreeze for up to 40% off plus 4 free gifts at earthbreeze.com/ATTWG. That's earthbreeze.com/ATTWG for 40% off plus 4 free gifts. The human body is fascinating, but did you know that scientists are now saying that your gut is the cornerstone of your health? It's not just about digestion. The gut affects everything from your energy levels and mood to weight management and even longevity. Most gut supplements contain probiotics or maybe probiotics and prebiotics, but Bioma contains all 3 essential ingredients that your gut needs: prebiotics, probiotics, and postbiotics. And now you can visit gobioma.com/ATTWG today for an extra 15% off your order. That's GOBIOMA.com/ATTWG and get an extra 15% off. Each ingredient in Bioma is science-backed and third-party tested. You just need 2 capsules before breakfast to take the guesswork out of feeling your best. Go visit gobioma.com/ATTWG today for an extra 15% off your order. That's GOBIOMA.com/ATTWG to get an extra 15% off. If you've been listening to this show for a while, then you know that I'm a podcaster and a realtor. And on some days, like today, I have to do both. I spent all day in a courthouse watching a trial that we're covering, and then I had to drive an hour and a half away to put a lockbox on a new listing. It was a long day, to say the least, and normally I would have been exhausted at about 3 when I still had several hours to go. But I've recently been adding everyday dose into my morning routine, specifically into my morning coffee, and let me tell you, I was driving home late tonight and I felt great. Everyday Dose is coffee plus benefits. They combine high-quality coffee with powerful ingredients like lion's mane and chaga, collagen protein, and nootropics to fuel your brain, boost focus, and give you clean, sustained energy all day long. It tastes just like coffee without the downside. No crash, no jitters, just clean, sustained energy. Right now for Black Friday, get 61% off your first Coffee Plus starter kit, a free A2 probiotic creamer, and over $100 in free gifts. Plus, enter for a chance to win $100 cash or get your entire order refunded. Visit everydaydose.com/ATTWG or use code ATTWG at checkout.
Darkcast Network. Welcome to the dark side of podcasting.
On July 27th, 2021, 5-year-old Michael Vaughan's father went to go check on Michael's younger sister and order a pizza. He was out of the room for 15 to 20 minutes, but when he came back, his little boy was gone. Police in Fruitland, Idaho, along with other agencies, launched a massive search, but no trace of the boy was found. On November 11th, 2022, an arrest was made in his case, but those charges were later dropped. Now, almost exactly 3 years later, we have more arrests, and this time, the charges include murder. When a person goes missing, there's a special kind of pain in the not knowing. I want to tell the stories of those who never came home. Today, I want to tell you the story of Michael Vaughan. I'm Kona Gallagher.
And I'm Ethan Flick.
And this is And Then They Were Gone. Welcome back, everyone.
Welcome back.
Thank you for joining us once again. I'm Kona.
And I'm Ethan.
And we're the husband and wife team behind this podcast. Each week, I tell you the story of an unsolved missing persons case. Ethan doesn't know anything about the case going into the episode and is here to provide his reactions and questions in real time, hopefully asking some of the same ones you have at home. Now, of course, this is a little bit different because this is not only have we covered the Michael Vaughan case before, but this is our second update that we've done on this. So you do know about the story, and you remember when Sarah Wondra was arrested a few years ago. We never really got a lot of answers then, and it was even after we put out that episode that we found out that there were two other people of interest in that case, which were two men who had been staying with Sarah and her husband Stacey in their home at the time of Michael's disappearance. That's Adrienne Lucien and Brandon Shirtliff. So this time we do have more information about them. So we'll be talking about that today as well.
And truth be told, I'm actually kind of terrified to get into what their role was.
Yeah, it's not good. When we started covering this, Michael went missing in July 2021. Our first episode came out December of that year. And then when our update episode was November 20th, 2022, with the update about Sarah Wondra's arrest. Now, I've re-released that episode, the update episode, so you can find it below this one in your podcast app in case you need to catch up with kind of everything that happened there. So in that one, we gave an overview of Michael's case, the circumstances around his disappearance, and then talked about what we knew about her arrest and who she was and who her husband Stacey was. But, I was going back over that one while I was preparing this, and it was an optimistic episode because, as much as it could be, because we thought that it meant that Michael was about to be found and his family was on their way to getting justice. But that's really not exactly what happened. And we're 3 years later now, and Michael still hasn't been found.
But it seems like maybe this will get some answers at least.
It sounds like it. I mean, there are a lot more charges. Right. And so I think that this is the point where we're really going to find out what's going on. So anyway, so let's just go ahead and get into it. Now, just as a quick refresher, on November 13th, 2022, Fruitland Police Chief J.D. Huff announced that based on what he called, quote, a very credible tip, end quote, Fruitland Police executed a search warrant at 1102 Red Wing Street on November 11th. This led to the arrest of one of the home's occupants, 35-year-old Sarah Wondra. Now, Sarah lived at the time in the home with her husband, Stacey, but Stacey was in jail in Washington County, Idaho, on unrelated charges. Sarah was charged with failure to report a death. So right now, just again, we're talking about 2022. That was the original charge. And she was not at that time charged with kidnapping or murder. And at that time, Stacey, her husband, was not charged with anything. It was pretty clear that police were still trying to build their case at that time, and they needed a charge in order to be able to search the Wondra property, which would seem to be really what their goal was at that point. But they just didn't necessarily have enough at that point to charge her with murder or kidnapping. So police did begin to dig in the Wondra yard with a backhoe. They also brought in cadaver dogs. And while we later learned that the cadaver dogs did alert in the Wondra's yard, no sign of Michael's body was found during the search.
Which, of course, leads you to believe that they moved his body.
Exactly. And once we get into the probable cause affidavits, they say that pretty explicitly. Now, as I mentioned earlier, the charge against Sarah was eventually dropped, and she did remain free for a time before her sentencing on an unrelated charge. So she's currently in prison for that, and her husband, Stacey, had already been in prison on this federal gun charge.
And he's still in prison, right?
Well, he was until October 30th of this year. So, just a few weeks before we're recording this. He was released on that day from federal prison in Arizona, at which point he was arrested for the murder and kidnapping of Michael Vaughan. So when we did our update episode, all we knew from Sheriff Huff is that the tip that led them to the Wondra home had come from someone who lived there, but we didn't know who. And like I said, that was before we even knew about Brandon or Adrian. So we just really had no idea what was happening. We now know from the probable cause affidavits that charge both Stacey and Sarah that Stacey gave police a lot of information about what he says happened to Michael Vaughan. And Brandy Neal, Michael's mother, actually threw a FOIA request, and this surprised her. She didn't think that this is something that she would have been able to get through the FOIA request, but she received a video, a recording of Stacey Wondra from prison or jail, wherever he was being held at the time, talking to detectives over FaceTime as they were searching the backyard of their house, directing them to where he said Sarah buried Michael.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So Brandy actually released that video a few years ago. So that video's been out there for a bit.
I feel like that shouldn't have been a part of the FOIA.
Yes, neither did she.
Like, that's crazy because that's evidence.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But also, my God, like, for her to receive that and be watching that.
Right. So obviously this entire story is awful, and we're going to talk about a lot of things that are very difficult to talk about, but we're going to go over the PC affidavits because they're really the best source to figure out exactly what investigators believe happened to Michael Vaughan. Now, there's nothing too graphic in them or anything like that, but we're still talking about the murder of a 5-year-old child, so it's not going to be good. Now, what these affidavits do is shed light on what exactly happened to Michael after he was seen by neighbors wandering around his neighborhood. It also talks about the possible motive behind his abduction and why police didn't find his remains in the Wondra's yard. It also covers who the other two persons of interest are, Brandon Shurtleff and Adrian Lucien. After Sarah's 2022 arrest, we learned that they had been staying in the Wondra's house at the time of Michael's disappearance, and now we know a little bit more about their potential involvement. The PC affidavits also talk about Sarah's social media posts after Michael's disappearance, which we covered a lot in our update episode. Interestingly, another aspect that has been speculated on apparently isn't related to any of this, and that's the fact that the Wondras lived next to the Starkey family, which is a house filled with registered sex offenders. And we had talked about this in the update episode, as a potential connection.
Right.
But there's no mention of the Starkeys in any of the legal documents that I've read. So let's go ahead and get started on the affidavits. So the first one we're going to talk about is Sarah's, because it does seem as though, even though, Stacey's the one who's been in the news more over the past few weeks because they arrested him, it does seem as though investigators believe that she was the one who was kind of behind this. We'll then talk about Stacey's, which has a lot of the same information, but kind of fleshes things out a little bit more. Did you know that iron deficiency is one of the most common, yet often overlooked nutritional gaps affecting 1 in 3 adults, especially women? I'm a lifelong vegetarian, and so getting enough iron has been a constant struggle. There are plenty of times when I tried to give blood and I couldn't because my iron was too low, especially in my 20s when my diet consisted of mostly pasta. So I have had to take iron supplements at various times in my life. So when Ciderol from Nutra wanted to advertise with us, it was a no-brainer. It's a premium iron supplement powered by patented sucrosomial technology, which helps your body absorb 3 to 4 times more iron while avoiding the common side effects of traditional iron supplements like nausea and constipation. It's vegan and gluten-free and 100% allergen-free and free from artificial colorants. So if you feel like no matter how much you rest, you're still running on empty, you're not alone. Over 2 million people have already discovered Ciderol, and it could be the support you've been looking for. So head to pharmanutra-us.com and use code ATTWG for 10% off your first order of Ciderol. That's PHARMANUTRA-US.com, promo code ATTWG for 10% off today. Have you ever had a gut feeling about someone and ignored it? In the thriller Ask for Andrea by Noelle W. Eiley, that feeling could be the difference between life and death, and it may also be a message from the other side. So Ethan read this book even before I did and has a lot to say about it.
Cover to cover, I could not put this book down. It was such a page turner. It is an intense read. It takes you from one point of view to another and culminates in a very intense finish that keeps you on the edge the entire time.
So basically, it's 3 women were murdered by the same man, and they unite in the afterlife to stop him from killing again in a domestic thriller that meets The Lovely Bones. If you've ever screamed at a true crime doc, why didn't anyone listen?
This is the book to read for that.
Ask for Andrea by Noelle Eiley. I don't know how it happened, but holiday shopping season is officially here. Uncommon Goods takes the stress out of gifting with thousands of unique, high-quality finds that you won't see anywhere else. They have something for everyone, from moms and dads to kids and teens, from book lovers, history buffs, and diehard football fans to foodies, mixologists, and avid gardeners. You'll find thousands of new gift ideas that you won't find anywhere else. I've been on their site and I was perusing the teen section because I feel like shopping for kids is so hard nowadays. And I found this really cool inkless instant photo and label printer. You can take pictures on your phone and then print them out. And because it's inkless, you don't have to keep on buying refills, which would relegate it to the junk drawer. It looks like a really cool gift, and honestly, I kind of want it for myself. So don't wait. Cross those names off your list before the rush. To get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/ATTWG. That's uncommongoods.com/ATTWG for 15% off. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary. Sarah's probable cause affidavit is 8 pages long, but the beginning of it really just kind of lays out the timeline of Michael's disappearance. We've already covered that, so I'm going to kind of skip over a lot of that. What I will do is just give you the dates, because I didn't realize that the Wondras have basically been under investigation since the very beginning.
Okay.
So it was July 27th, 2021 that Michael Vaughan disappeared. And remember, he was with his dad and his dad was checking on the baby. He slipped outside. We talked in our original episode about how basically Michael had gone outside and had been seen by neighbors. He was knocking on doors trying to find somebody to go play with. Now, this happened between 6:15 and 6:30 p.m. That's when the neighbors reported seeing him around. It was between 6:45 and 6:50 that Tyler Vaughan, Michael's dad, noticed that he was gone. And then he called 911 at 7:21 after looking for him himself and not being able to find him. It wasn't until several days later, between August 2nd and 3rd, that police brought canine units out to try to catch Michael's scent. And this is directly from the affidavit. Out of approximately 300 homes, Canine Handler reported the dog only showed interest in one house, and that's the Wondras' house. Quote, the canine showed interest at the intersection and then headed straight to the fence and front door of the Wondra residence, end quote. Now, the canine also showed interest in the area of the Bluffs sign at the entrance of the Bluffs subdivision. Canine Banshee tracked scent down to a tree over the edge of the bluff on Southwest 8th Street and Three Rivers Way. Canine Banshee was determined to track the scent into the thorny bushes under the tree despite the thorns. A discarded child's stroller was located deep in these thorny bushes. Then 3 days later, on August 5th, a pink Big Flyer tricycle was located behind the bluff sign at Three Rivers Way and Southwest 8th Street. During a search of the same area the day prior, the tricycle was not there. Jim Smith, who lives in the Three Rivers subdivision, later reported that he had found the tricycle over the bluff under a tree next to a child's stroller. Jim said that he took it home to use one of the wheels for another project, but then discarded it after not removing the wheel as planned. Jim said that he left it behind the bluff sign for the neighborhood kids to use. And when I was originally reading all this, I didn't understand, what any of that meant.
Yeah.
But Kim Elko would later report to law enforcement that she had seen the tricycle in the Wondra garage during a yard sale in the spring of 2021. So she saw that tricycle in the Wondra garage months before Michael went missing. They did not have children. There was no real reason for them to have a tricycle in their garage. Stacey Wondra is captured on surveillance footage driving a white Lexus and pulling into the parking area of the splash pad in the neighborhood off of Southwest 8th Street at 3:23 p.m. on July 27th, 2021. So this is, about 3 hours before Michael went missing. Stacey is seen exiting the driver's door, walking around to the passenger side of the car, and appears to be testing the exterior door handle. Stacey then walked back to the driver's side of the vehicle where he got into the driver's seat and exited the area onto Southwest 8th Street at 3:24, which is just 1 minute after arriving. Video surveillance shows an adult male walking in the area of Three Rivers Way at 6:08 on July 27th. So now we're talking about 20 to 30 minutes prior to Michael going missing. The same male is captured walking into the area of the neighborhood splash pad at 6:18. The last image of the male is captured at 6:28 as he walked through the wooded area to the west back towards the area in which the Wondras lived. Brandon Shurtleff was identified in 2022 to being that person and told detectives during an interview that the surveillance video captured him as he was walking and searching for a missing child on the date that Michael disappeared. But this video captured Brandon prior to Michael being reported missing.
Right.
Brandon reported that he was living with the Wondras on that date. And so now we're getting back to the tricycle. Dorothy Starkey, who's another neighbor, reported on July 29th, 2021, so 2 days after Michael went missing, that she saw Michael riding what she called a big wheel tricycle at the corner of Red Wing Street and Meadowlark Avenue on July 27th as she was either entering or leaving the neighborhood. Remember, Red Wing is where the Wondras live. Dorothy is seen on surveillance videos coming into the neighborhood at 6:25, and she left the neighborhood at 7:25.
So when she comes in, she sees Michael on a tricycle.
Right around the other neighbor. Right, yes. Right around the time the other neighbors had reported that he was outside.
Right.
And she left the neighborhood again an hour later. So she saw him sometime in that hour period. Other than Dorothy's report, there are no other reports of Michael being seen anywhere other than his house and his neighbor's house whose door he knocked on. Fruitland Police first went over to the Wondras' house on August 1st, 2021. On their initial search of the residence, they located Adrian Lucien hiding in a closet.
Why was he hiding in a closet?
I don't know, but...
Did they execute a search warrant on August 1st?
So it doesn't say. It just says...
Or did they just go there?
The exact wording in this is, on August 1st, 2021, Fruitland Police contacted the residents at, and then they redacted the address, in Fruitland. On their initial search of the residence, they located Adrian Lucien hiding in a closet. So I don't know.
Maybe it was a consensual search.
It might have been, yeah. Yeah, so then it says residents of the home were Stacey and Sarah, and then Brandon and Adrian were staying with them. All four were interviewed on August 1st, 2021. So just 3 days after Michael went missing. But Adrian, in addition to hiding in a closet, was very sketchy. He was vague in his statements and wouldn't commit to a solid statement. He also refused to provide his social security number for identification confirmation. He provided Stacey's phone number as his own and concealed his real phone number from law enforcement. So Sarah's story of what had happened on July 27th was that she and Stacey had slept till noon, and they left their house around 5 p.m. to tow a vehicle to Kuna, Idaho, which is a nearby town. And they both denied that they were home around 6:30 on that day, which is when Michael went missing. But Cell phone data showed that Sarah, Brandon, and Adrian were co-located in Meridian, Idaho on July 27th earlier in that day. So they just never mentioned anything about the three of them being in Meridian. Cell phone tower data and surveillance footage shows Sarah, Stacey, Adrian, and Brandon were in the area of their neighborhood at the time of Michael's disappearance. So despite their story, their cell phones show that they were all there. Sarah, Adrian, and Brandon returned to Fruitland, which is verified by surveillance, in Sarah's blue Toyota Corolla at 5:08 p.m., only to leave again at 5:12. The Toyota then came back to the neighborhood again at 5:56. So again, all this is before Michael went missing.
He went missing.
Surveillance footage shows Sarah driving a maroon GMC pickup belonging to her and Stacey. As she drove out of the neighborhood at 7:08, Stacey has been identified as the front passenger and Brandon was the driver's side rear passenger. Sarah, Stacey, and Brandon's phone data show that they were co-located as they left the neighborhood at 7:08 and drove to Kuna, Idaho. So they did go to Kuna, Idaho on the day Michael went missing, but after.
Right.
Now, Adrian's phone did not provide any location data during the evening of July 27th, 2021. However, he took a selfie in the guest bathroom at the Wondra residence. And according to the metadata, that was at 7:26. So Sarah, Stacey, and Brandon left the neighborhood at 7:08
in a pickup truck.
In a GMC, and Adrian stayed behind and took a bathroom selfie at 7:26. The Wondra's maroon GMC pickup truck is captured on surveillance footage returning to their Fruitland neighborhood at 11:22 p.m. on July 27th, pulling or towing a silver Mercedes-Benz. So again, that thing about having to go to Kuna, pick up a car, tow it back does appear to be true.
But the timing was off.
Correct.
By a lot.
By a lot. Then it gets into how following Michael's disappearance, Sarah had a distinct change in behavior. Written communication between Sarah and Stacey on August 8th, 2021 was recovered from the iCloud data. Sarah told Stacey that on that date that she wanted to move and, quote, get out of this neighborhood and this house, end quote. Sarah also said to Stacey, quote, I liked it better when you agreed to be no one else here ever, but then you didn't want to listen to me about our sanctuary, so now we need to find another one. I need a new castle, end quote.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's referring to Adrian and Brandon or what that's about. Written communication from Sarah's phone on August 12th indicates a falling out between Stacey and Brandon being kicked out of the house. Sarah then changed her phone number.
Interesting.
Following Michael's disappearance, Sarah began to stand along the highway near Love's gas station in Ontario, Oregon, with signs stating to repent your sins and that the end of time was near. And then it goes on to talk about how her social media posts began to change drastically, and I did find the numbers really interesting on this. So from January to July of 2021, she posted approximately 3 posts. But after his abduction, not only did her posts get extremely religious, which we talk about in the update episode, but she posted approximately 329 videos on TikTok between September 15th, 2021 and December 24th, 2021.
It's a bit of an uptick.
A little bit, right? Yeah. And in these videos, she made testimony statements regarding her involvement in criminal behaviors and stated that she had broken all 10 of the 10 commandments. And I do like this next line in the probable cause affidavit. Quote, it should be noted that thou shalt not kill is one of the 10 commandments.
like they had to put that in there.
Yeah.
I mean,
gotta spell it out.
Yeah.
Sarah also alleged in her videos that it did not matter what sin she had committed because God had forgiven her for all of them. And it did point out the thing that we pointed out in the episode as well is that Michael's missing persons flyer can be seen on the refrigerator in the background of a lot of her videos. So Sarah was interviewed again by law enforcement November 15th, 2021. Stacey was also interviewed. They confronted her with a photo of her leaving the neighborhood at 7:08 p.m. on July 27th after Michael went missing, driving the GMC pickup. She then changed her story and said that she was driving the GMC to get Brandon's Mercedes-Benz from Kuna to tow it back to Fruitland. Sarah said the trip to Kuna to get the car had not been previously planned and that it was Stacey who wanted to go get that car at that time and date. Sarah said she stopped at Southwest 8th Street in South Arizona on the way out of the neighborhood to input the address into the GPS. She said that she drove to an address in Kuna, which is Brandon's mother's home. Sarah said that Brandon's mother, Tina Morial, was out of town, and that Tina did not allow Brandon to have people in her home when she's not there. So Sarah and Stacey parked down the road, and Brandon used a back fence gate on the south side to enter Tina's residence so that her doorbell camera didn't capture him there. Sarah reported that while towing the car back to Fruitland, the tow strap broke. And this next part is so bizarre. I'm having trouble figuring out why she said this. The only thing I can think of is to perhaps explain a change of clothes or a missing shirt. Because this is what she says. While they were on the side of the road, Sarah reported she urinated and removed the shirt she was wearing in order to use it to wipe.
Okay, gross. But up to this point, the probable cause affidavit doesn't mention anything about noticing her wearing a different shirt.
It does not.
Interesting.
Yeah. Sarah would not provide information on which shirt she was wearing or what happened to it. Upon returning to their neighborhood, Sarah said they spoke with a pedestrian who informed them of a missing child. Sarah did not mention wearing a shirt when they spoke with the pedestrian, but previously spoke of trying to cover herself as she was standing along the roadway. Sarah said that after returning home, she and Brandon took her blue Toyota and drove around to help search for the child, again not mentioning reclothing. In later interviews, Sarah stated that she and Brandon went to the gas station for soda and candy prior to helping with the search. Sarah said that on that night, she drove down Southwest 9th Street for the, quote, first time and drove past Michael's home where she saw Michael's mother crying outside. Sarah said she and Brandon went home due to the number of people already out searching. So, what?
Yeah, like still shirtless?
Yeah. And then she got snacks. Like, I mean, listen, she obviously clearly had some sort of mental break at some point, right? And when she was initially arrested in 2022, like things were delayed because of competency hearings, and she was not competent originally to stand trial. So like there's a lot going on here.
Yeah.
Sarah was also asked about changing her phones following Michael's abduction. She provided two reasons. Sarah said they sold their phones because she and Stacey were splitting up, and Sarah said that they sold their phones because a demon told her to.
Okay.
Sarah was still paying on the phones that she sold. She was asked about her Facebook posts and provided the following responses. Quote, I literally had like a demon tell me that I needed to leave my husband. End quote. Quote, I literally deleted all of my pictures. I have no idea of what my passwords are. We had a fight. My husband and I had to sell our phones and we had to get new phones, and I can't access any of my stuff. So I do have Facebook, just don't have access to it right now. End quote.
But hadn't she been posting?
Yeah, I mean, she had. So this interview was November 15th, 2021. And yeah, she had posted 329 TikTok videos between September 15th, 2021 and December 24th, 2021. But they don't say specifically anything about the number of Facebook posts during that time, so I'm not sure. When asked about the vehicles Sarah and Stacey have, Sarah said the GMC pickup was repossessed. Sarah said she told Stacey when they heard the repo guys were coming to take the truck, quote, we are going to be the nicest repo they ever had today, end quote. Law enforcement was later told that the truck appeared to have been thoroughly cleaned prior to the repo.
Yeah.
Following the interview on November 15th, 2021, Brandon reported Sarah and Stacey contacted him and told them they were re-interviewed about Michael's abduction. Brandon and Stacey suggested Brandon come over to their place and create an alibi or write a letter on behalf of Sarah and Stacey saying that they were not involved in Michael's abduction.
I mean, why would you say that if you weren't?
Yeah.
I mean, that's...
And what good do they think a letter from this dude would do?
Yeah.
Tina Morial, Brandon's shirtless mother, was interviewed by law enforcement. She reported that Brandon's behavior changed after he lived with the Wondras, because remember, he got kicked out, so I think he just went and moved in with her after that. Tina explained that Brandon became more depressed and withdrawn, spending more time playing video games and smoking marijuana. Tina alleged that Brandon avoided law enforcement contact about Michael's abduction and that Brandon contacted Sarah to verify his story before he spoke with law enforcement. Tina would not tell law enforcement where Brandon was or what his phone number was at that time. So this is when I think, they had said that Brandon and Adrian were persons of interest and they didn't know where they were.
Mm.
Now we get into Kay Ramsey, who's Sarah's mother, and she's an interesting character in all of this. She was interviewed and showed a picture of the tricycle. All right, so we're back on the tricycle. Kay claimed that she found the tricycle in some bushes near the bluff a few days prior to Michael's abduction. Kay said that would be the reason her DNA would be on the tricycle.
Okay, inserting herself into... Or coming up with excuses as to why. Like, I mean, come on. That's like...
And so she's saying that she went into those thorny bushes that the neighbor talked about.
Yeah.
And dug the tricycle out.
For what reason?
I don't know, because the next line in the affidavit is, Kay said after all of that effort, she left it at the intersection of 3 Rivers Way and Southwest 8th Street. And then this is another little shady line that they put in, kind of like the 10 Commandments one. Kay was 73 years old in July of 2021.
Yeah, like why is this 73-year-old woman going through the effort to pull this tricycle out of
a thorny bush like down a hill
when she doesn't have grandkids?
Right.
And
or
then,
at least, I mean, I don't know if she doesn't at least not there.
Right. And then just leaving it there at the intersection.
And keep in mind, somebody else said that they had seen this tricycle in the Wonders garage months before all of this.
Yeah.
So none of that makes sense.
Right.
This is why I said she's really interesting. I mean, besides that, that's pretty interesting on its own. But Kay Ramsey is alleged to have withheld information and or evidence in other criminal investigations involving Sarah in 2022. There, Kay initially concealed a firearm used in an aggravated assault in which Sarah was later convicted.
Okay.
So Kay's trying to help out her daughter.
Yeah. Is that what she was in jail for then?
Yes. Yeah. So this is what she's in jail for now.
Gotcha.
Now we're jumping ahead to October 12th, 2022, which is about a month before her arrest. So law enforcement met with Sarah again. And when I say her arrest, I mean her arrest in this case for failure to report a dead body. Sarah said that God told her he was going to help her find the boy. She wrote a testimony and said that if law enforcement read it, they would locate Michael. Sarah suggested God had forgiven Hitler for his sins and that God had redeemed Sarah for hers. Around this time, Sarah began standing in her driveway and urinating herself, causing the neighbors to call in for welfare checks. So this is about a month before her 2022 arrest. In July 2023, Christy Kutch told detectives that in a prior conversation with Sarah, before her arrest in 2022, Sarah made a statement that Stacey had been involved in the abduction of a 5-year-old boy. Christy said that she made personal notes of their conversation. Okay, so they wrote this weirdly, but what it sounds like is that Christy had a jail-recorded conversation with Sarah in June 2022, and Sarah said that Stacey had been arrested, which he had been arrested in April of 2022. It sounds like Christy asked if he was charged with kidnapping, if that's why he'd been arrested.
Oh, okay.
And he wasn't. He was arrested on federal gun charges.
Right.
But in that recording, Sarah recants her prior statement, claiming that Christy misunderstood her. Christy also mentioned that Sarah's dog was digging large holes in the backyard. Look, teaching your kids about money is hard, especially when you didn't really grow up knowing about money yourself like me. And that's why I love Acorns Early. They make it so easy for us. And they know that you have a lot on your plate, so they help you teach your kids about money one small step at a time. Our youngest has been using it, and he loves logging into the app himself and checking his balance and figuring out what he wants to spend his money on and what he wants to save up for. And it's so important to start building your kids' money skills early. With Acorns Early, they can learn by doing and watch as the small steps they take today grow into big potential for tomorrow. Kids can earn money with the in-app chores tracker, practice real-life budgeting with automatic allowances, and even set their own saving goals. Ready to join over 1.2 million parents and kids who've unlocked their kids' potential with Acorns Early? Get your first month on us when you head to acornsearly.com/ATTWG or download the Acorns Early app. That's 1 month free when you sign up at acornsearly.com/ATTWG.
Acorns Early Card is issued by Community Federal Savings Bank, member FDIC, pursuant to license by MasterCard International. Free trial for new subscribers only. Subscription fee starting from $5 per month unless canceled. Terms apply at acorns.com/earlyterms.
Let me tell you about the online cannabis company that's revolutionizing how we deal with life's challenges, from sleepless nights to stress-filled days. Mood.com has created an entire line of functional gummies that target specific health concerns with 100% federally legal THC blends. Even better, you can get 20% off your first order at Mood.com with promo code ATTWG. If you're like me, then you have different family members who have different ailments, and I've recommended Mood to all of them. I legitimately, before recording this, I told my mom about Mood, and she's going to make her first order. Because they have gummies for all sorts of things, for pain relief, for sleeping, for just improving your mood. Their gummies are specially blended and each one feels different. The Sleepy Time gummies knock me out in 15 minutes flat with no hangovers, no grogginess, and I wake up feeling amazing. And each gummy is crafted using federally legal cannabis grown on small, family-owned American farms. Best of all, not only does Mood stand behind everything with an industry-leading 100-day satisfaction guarantee, but, as I mentioned, listeners get 20% off their first order with code ATTWG. So head to Mood.com, browse their amazing selection of functional gummies, and find the perfect gummy for whatever you're dealing with. And remember to use promo code ATTWG at checkout to save 20% on your first order. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of Hormone Harmony by Happy Mammoth, the supplement that helps women maintain optimal hormone levels, with over 50,000 glowing reviews from women worldwide and 98% saying they'd recommend it to friends and family. Now, they're taking those results even further by pairing it with a prebiotic collagen protein, which helps to restore gut lining integrity, promoting overall hormonal balance. It helps to relieve occasional bloating and gas, reduce sugar cravings, support sustainable weight management, and boost energy. I know I'm not the only one who's struggled with occasional digestive issues and brain fog, but Happy Mammoth is dedicated to making women's lives easier. And that means using only science-backed ingredients that have been proven to work for women. Right now, you can try prebiotic collagen protein and Hormone Harmony risk-free and get 15% off your first order with code ATTWG at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use code ATTWG for 15% off today. On November 5th, 2022, at 12:55 a.m., Stacey contacted Fruitland Police and requested an interview at the Washington County Jail. So that's where he was being held at the time while he awaited his trial. Stacey provided vague details about events surrounding Michael's abduction. Stacey said Sarah's religious beliefs and behavior changed starting within a couple days after Michael's abduction. In a recorded jail phone call, Stacey spoke of switched phones and/or SIM cards because he did not want law enforcement to follow or profile him. Then, on November 10th, 2022, Stacey again asked to speak with Fruitland Police detectives. He requested a deal, the same offer that was given to Sarah in the Michael Vaughan case. Stacey admitted Michael had been in his house the night of Michael's abduction. Stacey admitted the tricycle had been in his garage where Kim Elko had previously described seeing it. Stacey then said when he first saw Michael, Sarah was carrying him into their home. Stacey said that Michael was put into a duffel bag to transport him out of their house and to Brandon's house in Kuna. And I believe they're referring to Brandon's mother's house.
Right, yeah.
Stacey provided 2 reasons they stopped in the GMC on the corner of 8th Street in South Arizona. And this is the stop where Sarah said they were putting the address into the GPS. Stacey said they needed to put power steering fluid into the vehicle. And he also said that Brandon needed to check to see if Michael was still alive, because Michael was bound with duct tape and stuffed into a duffel bag that was in the bed of the truck. Stacey reported he did not previously report this information because he thought he would still get into trouble and because he was fearful of Sarah hurting him. While describing how Michael was taped and stuffed into a duffel bag in his living room, Stacey had a physical reaction and began violently vomiting. Following his interview with law enforcement, Stacey called his mother, Tamara Johnson, from the Washington County Jail on a video visit. Tamara asked Stacey if Michael was alive. Stacey shook his head no and said, quote, Sarah accidentally killed him, end quote. Tamara asked how. Stacey said suffocation and went on to say they buried him in a duffel bag. After his interview and phone call to his mother, Stacey wrote an apology letter to Michael's parents and then attempted to hang himself in his jail cell. But he was rescued by Washington County jail staff. It should be noted that during some part of Stacey's incarceration in the Washington County jail prior to his confession and directions on where to find Michael's body, Sarah was out of custody and living back at the house on Red Wing Street, as evidenced by her being there when law enforcement arrived to execute the search warrant. So, when police came with the backhoes and the cadaver dogs, Sarah was living in the house. They say in the affidavit, Sarah could have had the time and ability to move any evidence from the property without Stacey's knowledge because Stacey had been in jail.
Right.
So he didn't know what had been going on at the house in those months.
Yeah.
In June of 2022, Sarah called Kay Ramsey from jail and spoke about spouses being able to testify against each other. Then, in a recorded phone call from the Washington County Jail to Sarah, Stacey expressed concern that Sarah was going to turn on him. Sarah confirmed that Stacey was referring to Michael Vaughan, and Sarah told him that she had already told her attorney she wasn't going to turn on him and that she wasn't going to testify against him. So on November 12th is when they executed that search warrant and detained Sarah. As officers read it to her, she made several strange statements. Quote, wow, that is a lot. I definitely did not kill that boy, end quote. And, quote, the Most High God already told me who did it, so, end quote. And, quote, oh, wow, the Most High God just told me that Stacey was the one who killed him and he buried him in the yard of Carson's house, end quote. She also said, quote, the Most High God told her, quote, Stacey was the one that killed him and he buried him, end quote. Quote, the Most High God just told me that Stacey was the one who did it, end quote. Quote, he wants me to make sure you understand that I had nothing to do with it, end quote. Quote, he said that Stacey buried him in the backyard by the shed, end quote. Quote, it wasn't actually Stacey who harmed the boy, end quote. And then as officers started to search the residence, she asked several times if the officers had, quote, found him yet, end quote.
Well, so much for not flipping on him.
Yeah. But then at one point she said that he didn't actually hurt him. So, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, clearly she's got some mental health issues. But it's shifting blame. That's all she's doing. I mean, I don't know who to believe. I think they're both guilty.
Yeah, and I think it's a common tactic. I mean, with Stacey's statements about coming in and seeing Sarah carry Michael in and then, she put him in the duffel bag, blah, blah, blah. Like, I think that's fairly common in terms of like, yeah, okay, I'm going to admit that I had something to do with it, but
I'm not the one that did it.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that I can push guilt off onto someone else so that I can get a reduced sentence.
Right. I mean, I'm sure it's a version of the truth.
Yeah.
You know? Now, it goes on to talk about the dig and the canines, the cadaver dogs. There were 5 of them, all 5 alerted on the Wondras property. Now, Stacey says that he witnessed Sarah and Adrian bury Michael. So that's where Adrian really comes back into this, because according to Stacey's statement, and according to the surveillance video, Adrian was not with them when they were transporting Michael's body to Kuna.
Right, because he was doing bathroom selfies.
Exactly.
Right.
But, he wasn't innocent in all of this, clearly. So Stacey says that it was Adrian and Sarah who actually buried Michael. Again, not to say that that's 100% the truth, but that's how Stacey's looping him back into this. And basically, once police got there to dig up the backyard, they had seen that there were several areas that looked like they had already been dug up and resodded. But Sarah's parents said that they had done that because Sarah's dog had been digging holes all through the yard. Now we're jumping ahead to October 13th, 2023, when detectives did a follow-up interview with Sarah. At the mention of Michael Vaughan, she had a strong emotional response and began to cry. She then said, quote, "God told me he was going to help me find the boy," end quote, and went on to say, quote, "God forgave everybody," end quote. Now, when she was in custody in the Payette County Jail, she was emotionally distraught and talking to one of the COs. The CO asked her what was going on, and she said, quote, "I don't know if it was him. I don't know what body I saw," end quote. And then the jailer is like, "Wait, what? What body? What are we talking about?" And she said, quote, "I don't know. It was in a bag. I couldn't see it," end quote. And then they ended the discussion when they realized like what she was talking about.
Yeah.
So that's basically Sarah's probable cause affidavit. As I mentioned, Stacey's is largely the same, but with a few other details. Okay, so one of the other little details that's in the Stacey Wondra probable cause affidavit is that they, sold their phones, lost or sold their vehicles, and got rid of their furniture shortly after Michael's disappearance.
Why'd they get rid of the furniture?
Exactly. There's also another detail from Kay Ramsey's interview, and Kay is Sarah's mother. And this is when she's talking about how Sarah's dog had dug holes in the yard. Kay reported the dog had dug up what she later determined to be the ear of a green stuffed animal. Kay said she had thrown away the stuffed ear. So again, this is one of those other things I was reading, and I'm like, okay, what does that have to do with anything? The significance of this green stuffed animal actually comes in from an interview with Stacey. He said that Michael had a stuffed animal and said, quote, "Some sort of a stuffed animal. I want to say like a dinosaur or monkey. What I saw was a monkey, was a green and looked like a green monkey," end quote. In another interview, Stacey said that this lime green monkey was a dog toy that he and Sarah gave Michael to keep him quiet while he was sitting on the couch in their living room. So he's already contradicting his earlier statement.
Right.
Right.
When he said that the first time that he had seen Michael was when Sarah carried him in and he was unconscious.
So basically what it sounds like is one or more of these 4 people used this tricycle to lure Michael to their house. Michael was seen riding the tricycle near their home.
Right. At
one point, Michael was brought inside of the Wondra house. He was given this lime green monkey. And, I will say maybe he wasn't actually contradicting himself, because he didn't say that Sarah was carrying Michael in and he was unconscious. He just said that she was carrying him in.
Oh.
So she could have.
I guess in my mind, she was carrying an unconscious Michael in.
Yeah, but it could have been she lured him with the tricycle. He rode the tricycle. Then she carried him into the house.
Yeah, like snatched him.
Right. Then they put him on the couch, gave him the monkey. After that, he was duct taped and put into a duffel bag to transport him out of their house and to Brandon's house in Kuna. Stacey said that Sarah was frantic, trying to figure out what to do, and Brandon interjected, quote, "I have a duffel bag," end quote. Stacey described Michael as crying, and to prevent him from moving or making noise, Sarah taped Michael up with duct tape. When asked who put Michael in the bag, Stacey said that Brandon grabbed the bag and gave it to Sarah. Sarah picked up Michael as Adrian helped hold the sides of the bag open as they shoved Michael into the duffel bag. Stacey described that Michael was wiggling, trying to get away. He said that he could see Michael in the bag with his knees bent up in the fetal position. And while he was describing this, that's when he started violently vomiting. When asked if he was vomiting because of the chewing tobacco he was using, he indicated that he was throwing up because of the stress of talking about Michael. Once they got Michael into the back of the truck, they drove straight to Brandon's mother's house, where Brandon grabbed both bags, the duffel and a backpack, and went into the house by himself. Stacey said that nobody checked on Michael, but that he wasn't making any noise. Brandon took him in and said that he put him in a closet in the spare room. They went back to Fruitland, and Stacey said that Sarah, Brandon, and Adrian went to Kuna the next day to get Michael. They then brought his body back to their house, and Sarah and Adrian dug the hole and buried him in the backyard. So the big question is, why?
Why?
Why did they do any of this? And of course, there's no good answer. But according to Stacey, the idea was to take a child and sell the child for money. And that idea had been Adrian's, and they were going to get $10,000.
I mean, did they have any of this lined up? Like, it seems crazy to, I mean, the whole thing is crazy, obviously, but you snatch a kid off the street without having a buyer lined up or anything, like a plan at all?
Right. I have no idea. So obviously, I'm sure that's what they're looking into now and trying to figure out more to this, but that's basically the motive. Stacey said that Sarah asked him and Brandon to follow her lead, which was to take a kid. And then after they did, most of the conversation was Sarah just trying to figure out what they were going to do. So it sounds like, they didn't really have much of a plan. And while, I'm hesitant to obviously take any of what Stacey's saying at face value, if that's truly the motive, then an accidental death makes sense.
Yeah.
But Stacey's story doesn't actually make a lot of sense because according to his version, Michael was in the bag and alive when they left the house.
Right.
But according to this, he said that Sarah asked Brandon, where should we put the body? And Brandon was like, well, you guys can take him over to my house and we'll deal with it. And that will buy us some time. But they were already heading there.
Yeah.
So just going back to him kind of trying to push off blame and minimize his role in this whole thing. Because, that's the consistent part of this entire story between both his probable cause affidavit and Sarah's, is that Stacey is the least involved of the four of them, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that discrepancy that we were just talking about fits with that, because Stacey's version of this isn't 100% the truth. And when you're weaving the story that involves multiple people, eventually something's not going to add up.
Right. Well, and didn't Sarah say that they stopped on their way out of the neighborhood to check to see if Michael was alive, and he wasn't?
No, and he was.
He was.
So he was. But by the time they got to Brandon's mother's house, Michael had stopped making noise. But he said that nobody checked on them. And so that's, the other interesting part of this is, according to Stacey, like, he never saw a dead body. You know what I mean? Like, he's removing himself even that far.
Yeah.
So whatever the actual truth is, Stacey and Sarah, no matter how much he's trying to minimize his role in it, are charged with the same charges. They're charged with first-degree murder, second-degree kidnapping, and destruction of or concealment of evidence, all three of which are felonies. So he can, remove himself as much as he wants.
He's still charged with the same charge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, what I don't have are charging documents for Brendan and Adrian for these same charges. Because if we're to at least believe, some of what Stacey's saying, they should also be charged with the same things.
Right.
Now, we don't have that yet. And as of this recording, 3 of the 4 people alleged to be involved in Michael Vaughan's abduction and murder are in custody. As I told you at the beginning, Stacey was rearrested after his release from federal prison, and Sarah is currently serving an unrelated sentence for which she is ineligible for parole until February 20th, 2026. But again, that's just parole. That's not when her sentence is over. I'd be hard-pressed to think she's going to be getting parole with these charges hanging over her,
Right.
So those charges, I think one sentence is up in 2027. The other sentence is up in 2029. So police have time with her.
For her, yeah. Right.
Brandon Shurtleff was recently arrested on a probation violation. He's also in custody. Adrian Lucien, however, is out. But he already had a failure to appear warrant out for him after he didn't show up in court on another unrelated charge, which sounded like some sort of car burglary type thing, that he was supposed to appear in court for, I want to say October 20th or sometime around then. So he is currently not in custody, but law enforcement is looking for him. They do have an active warrant out for him on an unrelated charge, though I haven't heard anything about charges on this matter for either him or Brandon.
Regardless of who did what, pushing blame off on somebody else, whatever, I hope all 4 of them get the max. I know we've covered a lot of cases. I think we've said this before. Covering this one was pretty difficult. Seeing pictures of Michael, he looks a lot like our youngest son, who, even to this day, we still call Mikey.
And Michael's nickname is Monkey, and that's been used in a lot of his missing persons material, posters. There's a group called Monkey's Army. And to learn from this that a monkey was the last thing that he had to offer comfort was pretty hard to read.
This is also difficult because we don't normally get the gruesome details like this.
Yeah.
We're usually left wondering and speculating.
When I was going back over the information from our last update episode, I read how Michael's mother, Brandy, was caught off guard the first time Sarah was arrested in November of 2022, that she was arrested for failing to report a death. She talked about how that really ripped hope away from her, and how she had to sit down with her other kids and have the conversation about how their brother might not be coming home. And she's had 3 more years to deal with that while trying to raise children, going through health battles of her own. She has, I believe, liver cancer and, has been in and out of the hospital a lot. And I just can't imagine what this is doing to her and the rest of their family right now. There must be a part of them, that feels some measure of relief that this case is moving forward again after being stalled for 3 years, especially after she saw that video of Stacey directing the detectives where to go.
Yeah.
I can't imagine having to wake up every morning knowing that happened and they're not being charged with anything related to her son. But she recently released a statement after Stacey's arrest. And she said, quote, "All we have wanted is for Michael to come home. Knowing that changes are coming forth to these monsters, we pray that they will finally tell us where Michael is. Michael deserves to be home with his family. There's one thing that just keeps ringing in my head right now, and it is something that J.D. Huff said. He said that you cannot take one of our most precious citizens and ever expect us to stop. Fruitland Police Department continues to live up to that statement. This is just a beginning to a hard road we know that's up ahead. We are here. We want justice. Michael will get his justice. We want Michael home, and we're never going to stop until we have Michael home. End quote. So now, in November 2025, the search continues for Michael. But as Brandy said, Michael will get his justice. Michael Joseph Vaughan has been missing from Fruitland, Idaho since July 27th, 2021. He was 3'7" and 50 pounds at the time of his disappearance. He has blonde hair and blue eyes. Michael was last seen wearing a blue Minecraft t-shirt, blue boxer briefs, and flip-flops. Michael was 5 years old when he went missing. He would be 9 today. Anyone with information on Michael Vaughan's disappearance is urged to contact the Fruitland Police Department at 208-642-6006, extension 0, or contact the department through its tip line at findmichael@fruitland.org. You can see all the sources for this episode along with photos and videos at our website, andthentheyweregone.com.
And be sure to follow us on social, and Then They Were Gone Pod on Facebook and at ATTWG Pod on Instagram and TikTok. If you like what we're doing, please subscribe and consider leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It will help new listeners find us. And the more people that listen, the more chances we have of bringing someone home.
And we'll see you here next week for a brand new episode.
See you next week.
And Then They Were Gone is hosted by Kona Gallagher and Ethan Flick. All research, writing, and editing is done by me, Kona Gallagher. Theme music is The Stork by Ketsa. Additional music is provided by Kai Engel. And Then They Were Gone is a Little Monster production.
Hey, you can do it!
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.